All right, let's jump right in. What if we looked at the pursuit of sex not as, this big emotional journey, but more like a business deal? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're putting on the accountant's green visor to audit the real cost in time, in energy, and in lost opportunities of a purely transactional approach to intimacy over a 15-year span. So let's do the math. Now, for this whole thought experiment to work, we've got to adopt a very specific and, a very provocative mindset. The one you see right here. We're diving into a scenario where intimacy isn't a partnership or a joy, it's a job, a really high-friction task that's seen as a kind of tyranny or servitude. So if that's our starting point, if that's the mindset, then the question becomes one of pure calculation, right? If the only thing you're after is that neurochemical reward, that little hit of dopamine, what's the actual price you're paying for it? What does it really cost you? Okay, so let's get into our first section. We're looking at this as a pure transaction. Think of it like a business deal where you are trading your absolute most valuable resources, your time and your energy, for one single specific payoff. And this slide right here gets to the heart of it. For this audit, a dopamine fix has absolutely nothing to do with connection or love. The pleasure itself is the product. Everything else, the dates, the arguments, the effort, the whole shebang, that's just the cost of doing business. It's overhead. And now for the numbers. In Section 2, we are officially conducting a time audit. We're going to calculate the total all-in hours invested in this pursuit over a 15-year period, let's say from age 60 to 75. Okay, this slide is where it gets really interesting. Look at the breakdown. The goal itself, the act, that's only 2 hours a week. But look at the overhead. The source calls this the tax, the sheer effort needed to maintain the whole arrangement. And it is a massive 12 hours per week. That's everything from courting and conflict resolution to just maintenance. So you add those up and you get a grand total of 14 hours every single week. I mean, come on, that's not a hobby. That's a part-time job. Now, let's zoom out. What happens when you multiply that weekly part-time job by 15 years? You get this absolutely staggering number, 10,920 hours. That is the final bill. That is the price tag in time. But a number that big is kind of hard to wrap your head around. What does it actually mean? Well, it means 12.5% of your total conscious waking life between the ages of 60 and 75. Just let that sink in for a second. 1/8 of your entire remaining existence is spent on this. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Imagine your entire conscious life in those 15 years is this circle. That blue slice, that's the piece that gets carved out and paid as a dopamine tax. Gone. But the cost isn't just in time, is it? Let's move to our third section, the hidden energy tax. See, these are the costs that are way harder to put on a timesheet, but man, they can be even more draining than the hours you put in. This image right here, it just captures the biological war going on inside your body perfectly. On one side, you're chasing dopamine. That's the fleeting paycheck. But on the other, the stress and the feeling of servitude from the process are spiking your cortisol, and that's the real cost. Chronic cortisol isn't just a bad feeling. It literally physically accelerates aging and just tanks your energy reserves. And beyond the biological cost, there's the cognitive one. Think of your brain like a computer with a limited amount of RAM. A high-friction pursuit like this, it's like a program that is always running in the background. You're constantly planning, worrying, analyzing. It creates this constant drain on your mental battery, which leaves less power for everything else you want to do. And all of this brings us to what might be the most powerful part of this entire analysis. Section 4. Your mastery budget. This is where we stop looking at what was spent and we start asking, what is the astonishing opportunity cost of paying that 10,000-hour tax? So let's look at this number one more time. 10,920 hours. Only now it's not a cost. We're flipping the script. It's a budget. It's a 10,920-hour fund that you can invest in achieving world-class mastery in pretty much anything you can imagine. So what could you buy with a budget like that? I mean, seriously, look at this. You could become fluent in 4 or 5 new languages. You could go earn a PhD. You could get a pilot's license and then fly for another 10,000 hours. You could physically build 4 houses with your own 2 hands, write a whole shelf of novels. It's the breathtaking scale of human achievement that becomes possible when that time and energy is redirected. So let's bring it all together for our final calculation. After auditing the time, the energy, and the incredible opportunity cost, what's the final verdict on this transaction? What's the bottom line? This one quote from the source material just crystallizes the entire analysis perfectly. When you strip away all the emotion and you just look at the cold, hard math, that's what it all boils down to. A 15-year part-time job where the only compensation you get is a fleeting neurochemical reward. And that's the real takeaway here, isn't it? This was never just about one hypothetical scenario. It's a framework. It's a way to audit any major investment of our lives. And it forces us to confront the most important question there is. Your time is finite. It is your most valuable currency. So how will you invest it?